Welcome to another podcast in which we'll be talking about James Mahu's essay, The Gradual Unveiling. Sophia and Phil greet you from the microphone.
Hello to everyone.
What if everything we think we know about aliens and disclosure is completely backwards? Today we're exploring how the very concept of extraterrestrial beings might be fundamentally misunderstood, and why that matters for humanity's future.
That's fascinating, Sophia, and it really challenges our traditional understanding. The text we're discussing today presents quite a radical perspective on this whole topic.
You know what's particularly striking, Phil? This idea that Earth itself is actually a conscious entity, designed by a creator with capabilities far beyond what we can comprehend. It's not just a random rock floating in space.
Well, that certainly turns the traditional scientific narrative on its head. Could you elaborate on how this creator concept fits into the bigger picture?
So, according to this perspective, we're dealing with a singular intelligence that created not just Earth, but is part of an even larger creative dimension. Think of it like those Russian nesting dolls, but extending infinitely outward.
That's quite mind-bending when you think about it. And this relates to disclosure, how exactly?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. The essay suggests that the whole concept of disclosure about aliens is fundamentally flawed because these beings aren't actually external visitors at all. They're part of Earth's planetary consciousness, just like we are.
So you're saying there's nothing to really disclose because we're all part of the same system?
Exactly. And this ties into something fascinating about our genetic heritage. The text introduces this concept of the central race, essentially our creators, who established the genetic foundation for humanity as we know it.
That's quite different from the traditional evolutionary narrative we're familiar with. How does this genetic aspect work?
Well, it's described as constantly evolving along two distinct paths: the behavioral path, which aligns with soul consciousness and coherent behavior, and the synthetic path, which moves toward technological superiority and artificial intelligence.
That seems particularly relevant given our current technological revolution and the rise of AI.
Oh, absolutely. And here's what's really fascinating. These paths aren't just theoretical. They're actively playing out right now in our development as a species. The text suggests that we're at a crucial decision point between these two paths.
Well, that certainly puts our current technological debates in a new light. How does this relate to the concept of exploration and space travel?
Here's the mind-bending part. According to this perspective, Earth itself is our exploration platform. It's not humanity reaching out into space, but rather the planet's consciousness, with all of us as part of that greater awareness.
That's quite a shift in perspective from our traditional view of space exploration.
And it gets even more interesting when you consider how this consciousness operates on multiple levels, from planetary to galactic to universal to multidimensional. We're like cells in an incomprehensibly vast cosmic body.
The scale of that is almost impossible to grasp. How does this affect our understanding of individual consciousness?
Well, it completely transforms it. Instead of being isolated individual humans, we're expressions of this larger planetary consciousness. And get this, every planetary system in our universe apparently has its own genetic library through which consciousness can experience reality.
That's fascinating. And how does this relate to our current technological development?
Here's what's really crucial. No matter how advanced our technology becomes, we still maintain our free will to choose our path. The text emphasizes that these choices happen at an individual level, moment by moment.
So in essence, we're not waiting for some external revelation about aliens, but rather discovering our own nature as part of this greater consciousness?
Exactly. And what's particularly powerful about this perspective is that it suggests the truth isn't something external we need to discover. It's already part of who and what we are as both planetary and infinite beings.
That's quite a profound shift in how we think about disclosure and our place in the universe.
And here's what I find most compelling. This understanding isn't something that happens in a single moment of revelation. It's a continuous process of discovery that unfolds across time.
How does this perspective change how we should approach our future development as a species?
Well, it suggests that instead of focusing on technological advancement alone, we need to consider our development in terms of coherent behavior and our connection to this larger consciousness. It's about making conscious choices that align with our true nature as part of this planetary awareness.
That's quite a different approach from our current technological race to the stars.
And that's precisely the point. Maybe we've been looking in the wrong direction all along. Instead of searching the skies for external visitors, we should be exploring our own nature as part of Earth's consciousness and understanding our role in this vast cosmic dance.
That really brings everything full circle, doesn't it?
Indeed, it does. And perhaps that's the most important insight, that our journey of discovery isn't about finding something external, but about understanding who and what we truly are as part of this incredible cosmic tapestry.
Yes, exactly. Now it's up to the listeners to study the essay for themselves. It will certainly help them to understand the concept of the gradual unveiling in a deeper way. You can find the link in the text below the video.
Goodbye from the mic, Sophia.
Goodbye, Phil.